Hey everybody, this is Sean Briscom. Welcome to week 3. Can you believe it? We've gone through 2 full weeks of training and now we're entering the 3rd week of our 60-day challenge. Truly amazing. And so the first week we laid down the foundation. We talked a lot about who do we believe ourselves to be? Why are we here? What do we want? What are the obstacles getting in the way? Once we finished the foundation, we went into the code, what it means to live by the code, what it means to tell the truth, and to stop fucking lying. Well, this week we're going to be getting into a new tool, and this is really, this is an exciting one for me because this is a tool that I use on a daily basis to help to control my mind and the thought patterns in my mind, so that I don't get stuck where I'm at, so that I can actually shift and make moves in my business and in my life and in my spirituality and in my fitness to actually move closer to getting closer to what I want. Now this tool is called the Stack, and the Stack is a very simple tool that was created by Garrett J. White at Wake Up Warrior, my mentor, my good friend. And we get to use it here inside of our business for a totally different experience. Now, the Stack is just simply a stack of questions. They are questions that are important for us to ask ourselves and to ask each other that follow a certain sequence in a certain series. The design of these questions is to disrupt or interrupt the pattern of behavior or thought that we have that's dragging us down. It's designed to create enough space in our mind so that we can shift the perspective of how we're looking at problems and situations and triggers that happen in our lives. Now, all of us, every single one of us, we go through a drift. And the drift usually begins with this series of problems that we have. Something triggers us. Something triggers us. It can be an outside trigger. It can be an internal trigger. Doesn't matter. It can be something that somebody said, something that somebody did, something that we did ourselves that really just pissed us off, aggravated us, made us angry, or otherwise just collided with us and got us off track. That's what a trigger is. A trigger is just an event, an experience, a thing, something that happens upon us or inside of us that shifts us. Okay? And the first phase that we go into in the drift is the dark. The dark is the place where we literally we get hit by these triggers and the feelings start to come up, the feelings start to flow, and we start to tell ourselves stories around that circumstance, around that trigger, around what happened. And the stories are often not entirely true. You know, we tell ourselves stories like, I'm never going to make it in this business. This isn't for me. You know, and we start to justify those stories with facts and evidence to support it. You know, I haven't done any business in 3 months. Haven't had any income in 2 months. I'm failing miserably. I'm never going to make it. I'm going to lose everything. My whole life is burning to the ground. When we feel that trigger and we start to tell ourselves that story, we start to drift down into the dark. And the dark is the place where literally you have your hands over your eyes. You can't see anything. You cannot see what's currently going on, the reality of what's currently going on. You also can't see a possible future. And so the first thing we have to do is we have to release the rage inside of the dark. You know, we go from the dark and then we start to drift down and go through this series of events. We get triggered, we get angry and upset, we get frustrated, we get pissed off, we start blaming other people. Ultimately, we start feeling shame and guilt for the situation that we're in, and it becomes a horrible situation. Our job with the Stack, using the tool of the Stack, is to stop that drift, to interrupt and put on the brakes on that drift, to stop what's happening in our life and to shift just slightly so that we can see things from a different perspective. And when we shift, that gives us an opportunity to open our eyes and start to see things from a whole different perspective, a whole different light. Once we're able to see something more clearly and examine the situation from different perspectives and shift our perspective in the way that we believe to what we believe to be true about that specific trigger in that specific moment, now we're able to start lifting and moving closer to the ultimate outcome that we truly desire. And so we start with the drift. And in the drift, we start to go down. We start telling ourselves stories. We start having feelings that are not going to be serving us. We start to dive deep down into the dark. And then we have to stop and interrupt that and shift. Once we shift, we're able to move closer to the light and lift. And it's in the light that we find the gift in the drift. Once we're able to shift and lift and move closer to what it is we want, we're able to see the light. And the light is blinding, it's beautiful, it's glorious, and it gives us and provides us the answers that we need in that moment on how to course correct, what to do next. The gift that we find in the drift is found in the light. But you can't get to the light without going through the process of the stack. And so your assignment today is first to do the same thing. Number one is to teach these concepts, teach these principles. The principles of the drift and shift model. The principles of going into the dark and drifting and having to interrupt that pattern, interrupt that process and shift so that you can open up and create space in your head to see things from a different perspective, to lift, to ultimately move closer to your target, to what you desire, and then ultimately to see the light and to find the gift in the drift. The gift is found in the light. So part one of your assignment today is the same as always. You're going to teach these concepts. Number two, you're going to do this. You're going to actually write down, what is it right now today? What is it this morning that has triggered you to start to drift into the darkness? What has caused a situation or a circumstance where you're feeling horrible about it, where it's literally triggering you to feel feelings and tell stories that may or may not even be true, and those stories drive actions to where we eventually drift down into our pit? And how do you actually shift to create space so that you can lift and move closer to the light to find the gift in the drift? All right, that's it for today. You know what the assignment is. Part one is to teach these concepts. Part two is to do. So turn off the video, get after your assignment. We'll see you tomorrow.